welcome back to AM Live. Now, not many people would liken a business executive to an athlete, but our next guest thinks otherwise.
Well, according to him, high performance both at work and in sports depends on a synchronized body and brain. And he believes that body-brain connection is what determines one's physical and cognitive capacity.
Well, he has developed programs which can help bridge the gap between the two. And to tell us more about that program, we have with us this morning Marcel Daane, CEO of Body Brain Performance Coaching. Very good morning to you, Marcel.
Morning.
Good morning.
So, give us a quick understanding. What is your program really about?
Well, basically it's about brain capacity. And, you know, everybody wants a little bit of brain capacity. Everybody wants to have the energy to be able to function during a day. And, of course, at the same time, be able to come home at night and be able to spend time, you know, have the energy to spend time with their kids and all that kind of stuff. So, so what we really understand from neuroscience is that the brain is highly reliant on physiology, right? So it's really what goes on in the neurochemicals, the proteins and the, you know, hormones and all of those kind of things that are going on in the brain. And they're very reliant on what's actually happening in our bodies. So that's where the body-brain link really comes from. The healthier that we are, the healthier our brain's going to be. So when we treat our bodies the way that our bodies are supposed to be treated, in terms of, you know, choosing the right foods, exercising on a regular basis, doing these kind of things, what we really do is we create a foundation of, you know, performance capacity in the brain, and that's really where, you know, a lot of people need a lot of help in terms of being able to build that capacity.
I see. But it's kind of common sense, isn't it? If you have a healthy body, you have a healthy mind and a healthy, I suppose, mental well-being as well, right?
Absolutely. That, and in many ways, it's nothing really new. Unfortunately, though, it is something that is greatly underestimated still, because and the reason is because the brain is always going to function. You know, so a lot of people say, well, you know, at least I'm functioning. And I think many of us are kind of, you know, at a level of functioning competence, and we're, you know, okay with that. But if you look in the typical business climate that we have today, especially since, you know, the crash of 2008, you know, organizations need to find ways how they can really get the most out of their ever-shrinking population of people. We don't have those large masses of executives anymore that we could rely on in the past, and a lot of employees nowadays are doing multiple functions, and they're not just doing, you know, one single job. So human capital management, as we like to call it, is becoming a very viable source of revenue for organizations, because the better that we take care of our people, you know, of course, the longer they're going to last. They're not going to burn out so fast. They're going to be able to, you know, function in the way that they're supposed to.
But you're linking the body and the brain. So you're saying, you know, well, always telling us, take care of the body. Okay, yes, we know that. But are you also saying, take care of the brain, train the brain, I mean, so that it can perform at its best?
Exactly. So health is really just the foundation, right? So it's really just saying, okay, at the foundation level, we need to make sure that the brain has the capacity to do whatever we want to do with it. Then it's a matter of, okay, what do we do with it? How do we really apply the brain? How do we manage stress, for example? How do we alter our perceptions of the world, and how do we change the way that we can respond to each other, to, you know, the way that we're responding, etc.
Is that what you're teaching the brain? How to react to circumstances, how to respond to situations?
Absolutely. So when the brain is in a proper physiological state, that's when we can start training it, rewiring it, basically, to learn new behaviors, new attitudes. The brain is very plastic, as they would say in neuroscience, which basically means that, you know, whatever we do with the brain and whatever we tell ourselves on a daily basis, we can actually shape our own brains to such an extent that we can even grow brain cells at will through, for example, doing exercise and things like that.
Well, besides the exercise, because that lays the foundation. Once you have the foundation, so how do you train your brain? What are the techniques involved?
It starts with awareness. So just really being aware of what's going on inside my brain. So, for example, understanding our own emotions, because, of course, emotion drives behavior. And if you were to drop the E off of emotion, you get the word motion. So emotion drives what we do. So the most important thing to understand is that when I'm feeling a certain way in response to a colleague or a response to a stressful situation, or I need to go into, you know, a presentation or something like that, to really kind of be aware, say, okay, what's really going on inside my brain? How am I feeling right now? And from there, learning to have that conversation with yourself in a very compassionate rather than a non-judgmental type of way, and to be able to then coach yourself through that that process of really just understanding.
Checking yourself, taking a moment to just stop.
Exactly. That's exactly that. And one of the great exercises that you can do at that moment in time, and we say stop and breathe, right? So it's really your ability to take a step back and say, okay, oh wait, before I respond, before I react, I'm just going to take a minute to breathe and to reflect on what I'm actually thinking. And it's very often it's that critical moment that we do something like that where we actually gain insights into appropriate actions. So think about like during board meetings or things like that where we need to be able to say the right thing at the right time and respond in the right way. That requires a level of control over the brain, a level of control orientation, rather than allowing that brain to just emotionally run havoc. So
does this mean you'll be teaching a person over a period of time to go through these routines to make it, I guess, a part of every time before they go in for a big presentation, they may spend a minute and talk themselves through these steps so that it becomes second nature? Exactly.
So what we're actually doing is we're bridging the link between first making sure that you have the health and healthy physiology to be able to do that, and then to learn the necessary skills, things like visualization, passionate conversations with yourself. All of those kind of things, and it's by linking those two then together that will enable a person to.
You mentioned visualization. Can you give us an example of something, a typical exercise you would do?
Exactly. Well, typical exercise would be, imagine yourself, for example, going into a meeting. Just before, for example, what I just did coming in here. The best thing to do, of course, is to be able to be calm and cool and collected. Right, so especially from a leadership perspective, you have to be able to feel that you can be nice and calm and collected. So just being able to sit down and just breathe for 1 minute. Where you take a nice deep breath in and make sure that your exhalation is longer than your inhalation. When your exhalation is longer, what you do is you actually activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which kind of allows you to settle down. And just taking long exhalations and long breaths, and from there, just actually reflect on your emotions. Say, okay, how am I feeling? I'm feeling very stressed right now. So rather than saying to yourself, I'm feeling stressed, is to say, well, I accept the fact that I'm under pressure. But this is also a very good exercise for me, because this is going to make me stronger, it's going to make me better. So all of a sudden we change the dialogue from being a victim of the situation to actually being.
So it's like giving yourself a bit of a pep talk.
It very much is. It very much is that way.
Talking to yourself a lot. I mean,
and that's what we call it, reflection. And very often when we're in conflict, or sometimes that's exactly what happens. If somebody's angry or someone's upset, is to actually be able to take a step back and actually have a moment to think, rather than actually start speaking right away and start responding and acting. And that's really what this
I suppose that's the best way to take control of your own mental well-being and state.
Exactly. You got to think, psychologists believe that we have over 70,000 thoughts per day. Right? And how many of these thoughts are really constructive and are really helping us become better people? So, one of the most important things that we need to do is to kind of learn how to harness those amounts of thoughts. And you don't want to have all 70,000 running around while you're having that business meeting.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, Marcel, thanks for coming and sharing this insight with us.
Thank you.
Marcel Daane there, telling us about how you can boost your body-brain performance.
Well, it's year-end after all. It seems like the key word here is reflection and thinking about it.
Because it works differently for everyone. We're all unique individuals, so you might have different levels that need to be thought through.
Everything.
But always take a moment to think before you speak, especially. I found that pays well, especially in our line of work.
Okay, that's a wrap for us here on AM Live today, Friday. We hope you enjoyed the program. Enjoy your weekend ahead. We'll see you bright and early on Monday.
That's right. Have yourself a great weekend. Find us online at Facebook, or of course at our website, channelnewsasia.com/AMLive. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Great weekend. Bye-bye.